Marcus Aurelius Cavanaugh and his party found themselves at the gates of the safe zone they'd seen from the air. There were guards on the walls above, but no one blocking the actual entry, just guards to either side of the road where it passed through the gate. The party moved forward, Jeff still muttering about hating mysteries. I still don't get why the safe zone and the dungeon would be on top of each other like this, unless the safe zone had already beaten the dungeon. Why are we being so careful? He asked. Then the group stepped through the gates and into the city. Oh, Jeff said. Yeah, that'd do it. It's just flipped around from what I thought. Marc skimmed the text that had flashed into his own vision one more time before it faded. System message. You have now entered the combined Knossos City and Minotaur's Labyrinth dungeon. Increase your power levels by destroying dungeon spawns or through other means. Good luck. Marc shook his head as the guard said something to him. The language wasn't one he knew, although if he had to put money on it, he'd say it was ancient Greek. Really ancient Greek. He proffered his hand and the guard looked at it curiously. Hey, Rob, shake my hand, would you? Marc said, moving so his hand was extended to Rob instead of the guard. Rob took his hand and gave it a brief shake. Then Marc turned back to the guard and tried again. The guard hesitantly took his hand, and as they shook, Marc triggered his ESL skill. What was that? The guard exclaimed, taking his hand back and shaking it. Marc had felt a little tingle that told him his skill worked also. He'd actually only made out the first and last part of what the guard had said, but the other part was fairly obvious. Word magic, Marc replied to the guard's rhetorical question. Now the guard looked at him more closely. You are a mage? The guard asked. Some, not all, Marc replied. Word magic helps talk with others. Here, can get better. He proffered his hand to the other guard now. That guard looked at the first, who just shrugged. At least body language is pretty universal throughout the ages, Marc thought. I know that isn't entirely true, but it seems to be in this case. The second guard also extended his hand to take Marc's, and Marc triggered his ESL skill again. As the second guard repeated the motions of the first, shaking his hand, Marc spoke up again. Each use makes better at language, plus gives some mind to you, he said. Yes, you understand, he added in English. The guards' eyes widened when they realized they just understood a tongue that was foreign to them, even if it was only a few words. Then the first one started speaking again, more rapidly this time. Marc's limited grasp of the language allowed him to pick up the gist of what was being said, but not any specifics. I think he's saying that we should go to an inn and get rooms. Something about a game of chance everyone in the city has to play. We need to be registered in an inn for that. Those who aren't registered and are found in the city automatically lose the game, and there are apparently some penalties for that, Marc said when the guard had finished his rapid-fire speech. Jeff nodded. Sounds good, then. Better take a chance to win than automatically lose, especially if there are penalties that we know nothing about, he said.